Yeah. Buy money, bitch.
Hey, how y'all doing? This is Mongo Slade, and we're about to do a year review for NXT. The first full year of NXT on USA Network, which has been a struggle. It's been a struggle. As much as I love NXT, the 2-hour NXTs have been a struggle, especially during the pandemic when the arena was empty. It was very, very rough. It was rough. Rough. So, my year-end reviews are not going to be talking about specific matches or storylines or anything like that, even though there may be some of that stuff mixed in here. It's going to be talking about a lot of the bigger issues, a lot of the big stories that came out of the show. And this ought to be pretty interesting. So, to talk about these 2-hour issues of NXT. NXT used to be 1 hour, obviously, and then it came up to USA Network has been 2 hours. Now, the trouble with 2 hours is now you have to, of course, fill that time. And what NXT has tried to do, they have struggled to fill 2 hours. Usually what they've done is try to put in people who are not quite ready for TV, putting them on TV and giving them a little bit too much time. And in doing so, of course, you lose audience. Even though NXT is still developmental, they have been going through that schizophrenic, and NXT is developmental. No, NXT is the third brand. No, NXT is developmental. They've been jumping back and forth with that. Instead, because NXT has done $1 million gate. I think it might have been partnered with one of these bigger shows like WrestleMania or SummerSlam or something like that. But they've done $1 million gate. It's very hard to do. And it's very, very hard to do. So they have the credentials to be considered a third brand. But I still consider them to be the NCAA. There's a lot of player coaches on that roster like Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano who could easily go up to Raw or SmackDown, but they don't want to. So they're basically high-paid trainers who are staying on the brand, but they're also taking up a lot of time. But they're also the people that people want, that kind of people kind of like. Don't know about Johnny Gargano anymore. I don't think a lot of people care about Johnny Gargano anymore. But Tommaso Ciampa is very interesting. There's some Johnny Gargano though, not so much. So they have kind of let the women's division take the lead in 2020, and that has been their way of fueling the 2 hours of NXT. They essentially have a women's main event and a men's main event, and usually they let the women close the show. And so they usually have. So there's two ways of looking at that. Either they have so much faith in their women that they're willing to put their women's main event head to head with the main event of AEW Dynamite, or they know that maybe they can't win in as far as comparing main events with AEW Dynamite. So what they do is they put the women there. I guess that's entirely one piece that you could do. But I think it's more like they have complete and total faith in their women's division, and that they have so much faith in that people want to see them that they're willing to wait 2 hours to see them. And you know what? I think that might be true, because I do believe they do have some top women stars. Rhea Ripley is there, Io Shirai is there. So, and then for a little while they even had Charlotte. They've had cameos from Sasha Banks and Bayley, and I think Becky Lynch was last year. But they've brought in women to sort of fuel the women's division of NXT. But with the exception of some different women, a lot of this stuff dies a death in the ratings. And of course, if you care about that kind of thing, I don't. I care about match quality. If you're going to put the women out there, I don't care about women's wrestling one way or the other. If you're going to put them out there, however, they should be good. And a lot of the women from NXT are actually good. Now, some of the booking decisions might not be that good. But, and of course, some of the promos definitely are not that good, because they don't really have women that can talk. They don't really have a woman with a lot of personality. Other than Shotzi. Like, Shotzi has a lot of personality, but she's also quite cringe. But most of the women in NXT are cringe. Ember Moon is cringy as hell. Thick as mud, but she's cringy as hell. Toni Storm, she got that accent. I mean, I'm sorry. I shouldn't speak about her like that. Our cherry-lipped polka goddess, Toni Storm, is has this accent. It's okay, but I don't think she's ever talked as much as she needs to talk now. When she was on NXT UK, she used to cut promos, but they were always short. Now she kind of has to cut like real promos, and now since she's turned heel, that's kind of a charisma position where you kind of have to be the charismatic person. But Rhea Ripley has sort of been a very strong promo for the women's division in NXT. Io Shirai is completely out of the question because she's not American. She doesn't come from an English speaking country, so her English, while it might be decent, it's always going to be English second language mess. So, it's not going to be, at least they haven't done the Oscar where they basically let her go out there and chop English to death. They beat English to death every week. They usually do the things where she can speak in English and they do the subtitles, which is very, very smart because it's a good way of creating presence with her because they've been doing vignettes. So you create a presence with Io Shirai by having her do, because Japanese, it sounds very intimidating sometimes. Like there are certain ways that, somebody like Asuka, or they haven't been doing with Shinsuke Nakamura because he does everything silly. But with like Asuka, like the way she rants sometimes, she could be talking about gummy bears and lima beans. I have no idea because she's like, what the fuck? That sounds scary as hell. It sounds scary. But like it's a very intimidating language. It's a good thing, So they've been doing that with Io Shirai, like creating this mood with her. But that doesn't mean she's not a good promo though. Like, I'm pretty sure Io Shirai is never going anywhere. I think she's like Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. She's just basically going to be in NXT forever. I think they learned from letting Asuka go and letting Kairi Sane go that unless, Triple H dies, they have to pry Io Shirai from his cold dead hands. I don't think she's going anywhere. But the women's division has been the driving force for NXT for the last year and a half or so. More women have main evented more shows, I think, than the men have this year. Don't quote me on that. Again, I don't do a lot of research on this, but it just seems like every week the women are main eventing the show. And that's not a problem. I'm just saying it just is. They have let the women lead the way. And that has been, a positive and a negative. It cuts both ways. It's a good thing for quote unquote equality. It's a good thing for women's wrestling because it shows that they actually care about women's wrestling. But it's a bad thing because a lot of the women can't draw. It's also a bad thing because a lot of the women can't talk. They can't cut promos. They don't have personality. Even when they turn them heel, they just don't seem to have a lot of personality, like Candice LeRae or Indy Hartwell, who they call Indie Wrestling now. It's kind of like they need somebody to light up a room when she enters it, other than Toni Storm. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting, our cherry-lipped pog goddess, Toni Storm. She lights up a room when she enters it, so she's a rock star. But she can't be the only one, because I know that Rhea Ripley is also one, but they can't wrestle forever. They've been wrestling a lot over the last year and a half, 2 years. They can't wrestle every week. Shit, somebody else needs to step it up. And sure, Dakota Kai is good. Is a good wrestler, is good personality. Well, I shouldn't say personality, but she has the look. I'm not sure if she has the charisma to carry it. Now, Raquel Gonzalez has charisma, but it's like physical charisma. Like you see her and she's attractive. Not attractive like you want to bend her over the sink, but I'm talking like attractive as in she's striking. Like you see her like, wow, she's huge. Like she's intimidating like a China. Like I was about to say Nicole Bass, but no, I don't won't offend Raquel Gonzalez by comparing her to Nicole Bass. I'll just say that she's striking because she looks different from all the other women and how big she is, and she has presence, so that's a good thing. But a lot of the other women, Shotzi is completely weird. She drives a tank, which is actually kind of cool from time to time, but then she howls like a werewolf, which is cringe. And she kind of has white face sometimes where her face looks very pale. I don't know if that's makeup, where she had wearing like clown makeup or what. But I like Shotzi Blackheart as, stylistically, because her style is basically don't give a fuck. Like she's everything Darby Allin wishes he was. Like, Shotzi legit doesn't give a shit. Like, Darby Allin, is like half reckless. That's why he's half dead. He has like half of his face painted. Like, 'cause he's only half reckless. He's playing dumbass on TV. Shotzi Blackheart is with the shits. Okay, like, she's gonna jump off anything without looking. She does not look back. She's like, I trust you guys to be there. Here we go. Like, we're going straight in. She goes straight forward, and I love that. Even though I hate stupid spots, I love that she has such trust in the people that she works with, that she doesn't care. Like, she's like, if I break every bone in my body, it's worth it. And I'm just kind of like, you kind of have to respect it, as stupid as it is. You have to be like, damn, she is at least serious about this. There's so many people that go about, I don't give a fuck, I'll do whatever. And then they be trust falling. They be looking over their shoulder like Darby Allin, like I just said. But Shotzi, nah, she don't look. She just leaps. She is like absolutely insane. And that's a slightly charming aspect to her. Now, as far as the men are concerned, the men's division in NXT took, some really huge hits. One, they did a great job, fantastic job of booking Keith Lee all year. From the Royal Rumble to him winning the North American title and the NXT title in 1 year, in the same year, dominating NXT, having very good matches, really just kicking ass. And then they allowed him to get snatched and taken up to Raw. Then and then he got hurt. Well, not he didn't get hurt, but Karrion Kross got hurt. So the men's division has kind of been on a little on the side, because you had Adam Cole as the champion for most of the year. He was also champion last year. He was champion for most of the time. You just had kind of guys not really doing anything, like Finn Balor. He was kind of there, not really doing much of anything. Tommaso Ciampa was sort of just there. Johnny Gargano was kind of just there. Like, because they focus on the women so much, the men took a back seat, and they've kind of been, with the exception of Keith Lee, who they were pushing all year, they were building Karrion Kross, they have just kind of been sort of on the back burner, letting the women do their thing. Like, they've had some good storylines, like the final Tommaso Ciampa Johnny Gargano feud. That was decent. Again, the Karrion Kross stuff was good. Keith Lee stuff was good. The Keith Lee stuff with Donovan Dijakovic was good. As far as their little short storyline that they had going on. The introduction of other characters have been pretty good. The Drake Maverick stuff. But they've really sort of struggled when it comes to the men to put any steam behind them. Then they did that ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, the most offensive match they could possibly have done, a fatal 4-way Iron Man match that ended in a fucking draw. I am still mad about that. I am still angry about that match, because I feel like it was a waste of my time. And I have not watched it since. And usually I like to go back and watch NXT matches again, because they're at least fun to watch more than once. I refuse to watch that match again. It's a fucking hour. It's an hour, and you wasted my time. And then, of course, it's also always the same guys, and they refuse to put anybody new in the main event. But that was after they put new guys in the main event, and then one of them got snatched and the other one got injured. So that was been the story of NXT as far as their tag team division fell off the face of the earth. That's been another thing. Their tag team division has just died the most agonizing and gruesome death of any tag team division in WWE. And tag team divisions suck pretty bad in WWE. But the NXT tag team division has been stabbed to death with an arrow. Not shot from a distance with an arrow. I'm talking somebody just grabbed an arrow and stabbed it repeatedly to death. Like, it's just Breezango and Imperium. And I guess Grizzled Young Veterans. And I think Birch and Lorcan are still the champions. So it's not a deep division anymore. But the question is, was it ever a deep division? Or was it just that the show was an hour and it felt like it was deeper than it really was? And I think that's the question. I think that the shallowness of the NXT roster has been exposed by the 2-hour time slot. But you can't go backwards. You can't go back and make it an hour. So so you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Toothpaste cannot go back into the tube. But that's unfortunate. And they have sent some guys back. They sent Ember Moon back, which was good. I'm hoping they send some more people back to NXT. Hopefully they can, find some way to get Aleister Black to come back, or maybe Cesaro or Nakamura or something, because they need it. Maybe they don't. Also they need some women too. They need some tag teams, because they got Breezango back, but Breezango has run its course. I am so sick of Breezango. I'm tired of Breezango. I hate Breezango, if we're being honest. Breezango, after the whole Fashion Police thing, and I think that was SmackDown 2017. I was just kind of like burnt out on him. I'm just sitting back waiting for Johnny Curtis to flip on Tyler Breeze, and it just never happens. I've just been waiting on it to happen. It just doesn't happen. But NXT has done a good job of bringing in new talent. Throughout the year, they brought in Jake Atlas. It took a while before they started really utilizing him. Same thing with, I think Swerve Scott was brought in 2019. But he's just now finding his footing in NXT. But they have done a decent job of bringing in new talent. I know they had the whole thing with Miles, ACH. I don't remember if that was 2020 or 2019 though, where they had the breakout star tournament. But I think that was 2019, and then he disappeared for a long time, and then the whole thing with the T-shirt came this. I believe that came in early 2020 or late 2019, one of the two, and it became like this really big ordeal, and that was a problem. So, but the controversy didn't stop there. Obviously, Velveteen Dream and Austin Theory, they have killed any energy. Now, this is one thing I will say. As much as I am a guy who is you're innocent until proven guilty, the energies and the goodwill that used to surround NXT dwindles every time Austin Theory or Velveteen Dream shows up on the TV screen. And I can say that. And just be honest. There are so many people who get really, really negative just because these guys appeared on the screen. They wrestled a match. Not even that they're being pushed. It's not like, one of them is a champion and he's just been shoved down your throat all the time. It's just that the guy wrestled a match. Every single time, it's nothing but negativity. Because all their pedos or they were accused of being pedophiles, or they were inappropriate in some other way, and all this other stuff that they just got going on, man. It's just kind of like, and that has really damaged NXT too, because, well, not Austin Theory so much because he was on Raw when it happened with him, but Velveteen Dream was the guy they were pushing. There was a time there where it looked like Velveteen Dream was going to be the guy that's going to beat Adam Cole for the NXT title. And then it's like everything happened with Velveteen Dream. And that derailed the shit out of NXT. Because almost all of the goodwill for the brand died. People started being extra critical. And I'm sure that AEW being on the other channel, and everyone's saying, oh, NXT just moved to Tuesdays, or NXT just moved to Thursdays, or whatever. I'm sure people are just saying that stuff. That's part of it. Yeah, there's a lot of negativity from the AEW audience. But there's a lot of negativity from the actual NXT faithful as well. And it's very difficult to enjoy, even when they're good. They might just have a good match, or they might be doing a good thing. It's very difficult to enjoy it because it's so negative. You come across as might being one of only 4 people talking positive about the segment. Everyone else is just kind of like, pedo, 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 pedo. And it's kind of like, ugh. Like, it might just, and I don't want to be one of those guys where you gotta fire him because you think he's guilty. But I do think that you might need to separate just to save your fucking brand. Because it is driving down the brand. Maybe you might need to consider, separating them. And that's unfortunate. I've been one of the bigger people who have been saying Velveteen Dream likely didn't do anything, and it's likely all taken out of context, or, where there's no proof, there's no real police investigation or anything like that. I've been one of the biggest people on that tip. But when you look at the overall brand, if he's dragging down or damaging the brand, and it's not gonna, and no one's ever gonna, you can't take them off TV for a while and then they go away. And if you can't do that, if you can't take them off TV and it goes away, then, I don't know what to tell you. You have to think about your brand and not the singular individual, And they dodged the bullet with Matt Riddle, obviously, because Matt Riddle's whole situation popped up when he moved to SmackDown. So, but they moved from Austin Theory from Raw to NXT. So that didn't help. And it also didn't help that you had people like Finn Balor basically calling him trash on Twitter, and Nia Jax and Rhea Ripley and all these people that were, backbiting Velveteen Dream on Twitter and on social media. That didn't help. So you're in a position where you might need to think about, and the guy's young enough that in a year or two, you could bring him back. But just for now, it's probably best to let him go. And I hate that I have to say that because I have been, supporting him. But you have to think about there are things bigger than him. And for NXT to grow, he kind of has to move out of the way. You have to let the goodwill come back, You have to build up that goodwill again. So, it's very difficult to do. Another thing that NXT has struggled with, and since expanding to 2 hours, again, I said filling the 2 hours, but these tournaments that they've been having. They had the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Tournament, which died a death in the ratings. They did a great job of bringing in Alex Shelley to team him with Kushida. Then they had him beat in the first round. But at least it was something. It was interesting for him. It was interesting for a hot moment. Interesting for a little bit. But they had the time splitters on NXT, which was cool. And then it was in the first match on the show, I believe, and then they lost. And then, it's kind of like, oh, okay. Speaking of which, Kushida, huge signing in 2019, 2018, whenever it was he signed. It took him a while to fully, integrate into Florida and being in the United States because he's coming straight from Japan. But they're not using him like a star. He's been a guy that's floating around. And that's been a major issue with NXT is they have so many talented guys that just don't do anything with them. I could run off a list of talented guys, but we get fucking Cameron Grimes every week, And look, I don't hate Cameron Grimes. I do hate Cameron Grimes. I'm not even gonna lie. Cameron Grimes is annoying as shit. He's annoying as shit. But, it's not. You need to diversify your roster up. I love the introduction of Timothy Thatcher. I didn't think I was gonna like Timothy Thatcher that much, but what NXT have done with him has been fantastic. The fight pits, great shit. The Thatch Can segments were fantastic. His matches have been bangers, banger after banger when it comes to matches. When Tommaso Ciampa and Finn Balor and Matt Riddle, and he's just been killing it on the mat. In the ring, he's been killing it. Character-wise, he's been killing it. I've really loved Timothy Thatcher, and I like how they utilize him. They're not overdoing it. He didn't come in and get a super push and then push to the top. He also didn't come in and get the ritual bury, which is an NXT thing where they bring you in and they bury you for like a year or so, and then, then you get your super push. That's what they did to Adam Cole. That's what they did to Keith Lee. They did it to Kyle O'Reilly. Kyle O'Reilly got knocked out in his first match. I think it was by Aleister Black. He got, that match was fantastic, by the way. If I want to talk about any match, you should find Aleister Black versus Kyle O'Reilly. Kyle O'Reilly's debut match in NXT is in 2017, I believe. That's your homework. Go watch that and then let me know what you think. The match was fantastic. It was on like a regular episode of NXT. But they do that where they drag you through it's just the WWE thing. They drag you through the mud for a little while until they decide what they're going to do with you. And then they start giving you the mega push. That's what they did to Adam Cole. Adam Cole lost pretty much every match after his debut. He just lost. And then he went on this long title run. Keith Lee, same thing. Lost. It's different now. You're on TV now. They've done it with Swerve. They beat Swerve like a drum for over a year. Now they're trying to push him. Jake Atlas was another one. They beat him like a drum too for a long time. Now he's about to, I'm guessing his push is about to begin. But they didn't do that with Timothy Thatcher. Thatcher did lose his first couple of matches. I think his first match might have been against Balor, or his first big match was against Balor, and he lost, I believe. But he hasn't been beaten like a drum, like beaten repeatedly over and over again. But he has amassed quite a few losses. But, whatever. It's just an NXT thing, man. It's just the WWE, man. They beat guys. They beat guys to death. But I think that's just their way of testing you, before they can figure out what the hell to do with you. I don't see why you would do that. I don't see how that's actually interesting, but it's their format, man. They've been doing that a lot lately. It's been doing it for a couple of years now. It's not necessarily a good thing. But back to what I was talking about with these tournaments, because the Cruiserweight Tournament was another one where they had this great storyline with this Cruiserweight Tournament. And because Drake Maverick was released along with 20 other superstars in April. And he put out this video where he was weeping, basically talking about, he didn't know what he was going to do, but this is all he ever wanted to do was be a wrestler. Prime situation to use him as the emotional core to light up the Cruiserweight division. Instead, they went with El Hijo del Fantasma, who ended up being Santos Escobar. Now, the tournament itself was basically best of Super Juniors. It was like a round robin tournament, I believe it was. I don't think it was single elimination. It was round robin. And with that, you had it really was they had not put any effort into any of these people. Swerve was in it, and Akira Tozawa was in it before he was a ninja. All of these people were in this tournament. None of them were over. None of these people were over. Nobody had any real heat or was a solid baby face except Drake Maverick. They were basically introducing Phantasma. And then they flipped Phantasma heel at the end of it. It's like, okay, fine. Then they pushed him into a broom closet and said, oh yeah, you're the champion, but you're in a closet. And they didn't do the natural thing, which is to have Phantasma wrestle Maverick for the title and for Maverick to win the belt, so he could be the face of the Cruiserweight division and at least pay off that story of bringing him in. That was a big missed opportunity. And I know, it probably wouldn't have compared to anything else they were doing on AEW, but it would have been something that would have been emotional that people would have remembered. And people would have said, damn, Drake Maverick went from being almost fired to being the champion. It would have been a hell of a story. But they blew it. And now he's just in a nothing tag team with Killian Dane. And they're just getting beaten, they just get beat across the head every week. It's not fun. NXT brought in some talents from the UK. Our Pog Lip Goddess, Cherry Lipped Pog Goddess Tony Storm, Pete Dunne, Grizzled Young Veterans. They were all brought from the UK. Those are all good additions. NXT needs to do something else other than bringing people in from NXT UK. They brought in Ben Carter. Ben Carter is for the NXT UK, which is pretty cool. I seen Ben Carter in AEW, and everybody was creaming their panties all over him. I thought he was good, but I saw somebody say something like, "I've never seen anybody more agile in my life. I've never seen anybody work so fast in my life." I was like, "What in the hell do you know who Rey Mysterio is? Have you ever seen Juventud Guerrera?" Jesus. Anyway, those were good additions. I like the additions that they brought in at NXT. I like the classes that they brought in. The Evolve guys, the Leon Ruff and Anthony Green and Kurt Stallion. They don't feature these guys at all, though. They feature Leon Ruff. Leon Ruff is basically the Booker T of Evolve. He was the guy that was kind of getting a push in Evolve, and it was only a matter of time for him. They brought him in and they jobbed him out a lot first, of course, because that's what they do. And then they gave him the title, the North American title, and now he seems to be a regular, going to be a contender. But all the other guys that they brought in from Evolve, and then Brandi Lauren, who they also brought in from Evolve, I don't think she's even been on TV yet. And they continue to bring in more talent because now they signed up the Rascals or two-thirds of the Rascals from Impact, Wentz and Dez. They're probably gonna bring in Miguel too, Trey Miguel, but I think he said he had a nephew that was just born, so he doesn't. I think he wants to stay home for a while. But bringing in those guys is a help, but NXT has not fully integrated the guys that they signed already. Again, like I said, they have not found a real place for Shane Strickland yet, who is Isaiah Swerve Scott. They have not found a place for Jake Atlas yet. And these were bigger signings because Jake Atlas was sort of a big guy, a big star on the independents. They have not found a place for him yet. They have not found a place for Isaiah Swerve Scott yet. They have start and stop pushed several people. The fucking Cruiserweight champion is number one. Santos Escobar had a pretty big push. He barely appears on TV. And you also have a situation where the fucking NXT champion, the last two, well, I can't say the last two because I forgot Keith Lee is one of the last two. But Kyle O'Reilly, Finn Balor, Adam Cole could all wrestle for the Cruiserweight title. All the motherfuckers are the same size. So you have this guy who is the Cruiserweight champion who could theoretically be fighting for the NXT title. Hell, he's bigger than Leon Ruff, but he's kind of pushed into the broom. I think he's also bigger than Johnny Gargano, but he's kind of pushed into the broom closet. Damian Priest had a really good year. They pushed him really well. They haven't done the best job of pushing Damian Priest, if we're being honest. But he's gotten his showcase. He had a badass match with Finn Balor this year. Some other pretty good performances too. It's a shame that he's not going to be able to go higher, and be the actual NXT champion. But he had a really good 2020. Got to be the focal point, got to flesh out his character. The babyface run was really good for him. It was refreshing. He needed that. Instead of just being quiet heel, which was a lot like Edge, if we're being honest. And a lot of people say, he reminds me of Scott Hall. He reminded me of Edge when he was just basically saying nothing and coming to the ring and shooting arrows and stuff. He kind of reminded me a lot of Edge. But I really love Damian Priest 2020. Keith Lee did a really good job. I complained about Donovan Dijakovic. They took him out of NXT. They also took Mia Yim out for a while. She's out now, and she's completely on Raw now. But so they lost some talent, but they didn't lose their heart and soul. Matt Riddle was taken. Was a good player for them. They took him. That sucks. It would have been nice for Matt Riddle to stay in NXT. But the biggest problem, one of the bigger problems I have with NXT, if we're being honest, is the recklessness. I think somebody has been injured in every single NXT takeover this year. Somebody's been hurt. Finn Balor broke his jaw in two places. Kyle O'Reilly had to go to the hospital. Candice LeRae broke her arm. What's that gentleman who got whose fibia or whatever snapped in two because only Lorcan jumped on him? I forget what his name is. He's from NXT UK. Ridge Holland. Okay, yeah. So Ridge Holland got injured. There's been a litany of Tegan Knox gets injured again. After she pretty much comes back from an injury, she gets hurt again. NXT has been plagued with injuries. And, I think that the talent has been working a little too hard, maybe taking too many chances. And I get it that NXT is a little looser than the main roster. They've been doing pretty much, like I said, Shotzi Blackheart is just allowed to do whatever she wants as far as murdering herself. And, the main roster probably would have cured her of that by now. But, NXT just kind of let her do whatever she wants. But that's not a good thing. It's hard for people to get momentum if they're hurt all the goddamn time. It's hard for people to get excited about seeing somebody that's not going to be on TV. It kills any momentum that a guy might have. Because Finn Balor, what did he really gain from breaking his jaw in both places other than, he had a great match with Kyle O'Reilly, but ultimately he broke his face, so he was off TV for 3 months or whatever. Didn't really do NXT any good. He can't draw if he's not there, right? And he can't. So that's just kind of that's been weird. That's kind of suck ass. But that's been NXT in a nutshell, man. They need to do something with the talent that they have, specifically some of the guys. They need to find places and stop signing people if you have no place for them. Stop hiding people on 205 Live. You know, Kurt Stallion is good. Bring him to bring him to NXT. They also need to stop the start and stop pushes because, Ashanti Theodonis, Isaiah Swerve Scott, Jake Atlas. There's been quite a few guys they've started pushes with and stopped them for no reason. Oh, yeah, also Dexter Lumis got injured, doing a stupid spot. They probably need to cut bait with Austin Theory and Velveteen Dream, at least just to appease I hate, my stomach hurts even saying that, but you have to think about it, as far as the future of your brand and the future of what you're doing. NXT is small. It's not like Raw or SmackDown where there's so much to complain about that people are going to find something else to complain about. Every single time people see Velveteen Dream, they're going to complain. It makes people, hate viewing it too. Because you can't sit around, part of being a cool fan is being able to talk about this stuff with different people. And you can't do it. But I have enjoyed that they started doing the themed episodes of NXT. Those have been very good. The Great American Bash and Halloween Havoc especially were badass. Very, very good shows with very good main events, very good matches. I would like to see more of those, especially when there's not going to be any takeovers. I would like to see more of them. I think you should do one every other month, let's say every 40 days or something. It would be nice. I don't know how often they do takeovers because takeovers doesn't have a schedule. They used to, only do takeovers like WrestleMania weekend or SummerSlam weekend or Survivor Series weekend. They can go back to doing that and do the big themed events for the big shows, for their big TV shows. That would be a nice format. Format your takeovers to be compounded with WWE's bigger shows. Do a Worlds Collide. They probably won't be able to do Worlds Collide because they can't bring in people from the UK. But do something for the Royal Rumble. Do something for WrestleMania. Do something for SummerSlam. But do like they're doing New Year's Evil for New Year's. That's a good thing. Do something for Valentine's Day or something like that. Or maybe do something for June. What was in June? I think July was the Great American Bash season for WCW, because a lot of these things are WCW named. So that would be a good time for it. But they need to do something, because you're not going to have takeovers that regularly. Do some more themed events, and get a regular goddamn schedule for your takeovers and stop doing surprise takeovers. Surprise, we're doing takeover from, for no reason here. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, hold up. But that's been my talk about NXT, man. Thank you guys for listening. Like this video, share this video. Let me know what you guys thought of NXT and NXT's 2020 in the comment section below. What have you particularly liked or disliked? Let me know. I'm always reading the comments. I will talk to you guys later. Send me money too if you can. So, peace.